Good afternoon. It's February 26th. And you can see behind me all the snow we have with this blizzard and a couple little minor snowstorms. And you always hear in my videos, oh, I have a little tear in my rotator cuff, and that's my excuse. Well, I got to tell you, if after doing a lot of shoveling here and there and all this snow, it bothers me a little bit. So I made these two beautiful Black Tupelo bows. The first one I made a little light. I made it 40 pounds, and I really wanted to. The attempt was to make a hunting bow. So I says, I'm going to. One was going to be lighter, one was going to be heavier. So the first one I decided to get the tillering perfect, and I wound up with a 40-pound bow. I said, I'll see what the bow makes. Then the second one, I made the 47, 45, 47-pound bow that I wanted to. So this 40-pound bow, now that my shoulder hurts, I says, I'm going to make this like 35 pounds so I could use it a lot more and not have my shoulder affected. It's just beautiful. Let me show you this is the pristine back that we steamed the bark off. Okay, and I stained it with brown leather dye and the deer antler tips. I mean, it's beautiful, right? So I said, I'm going to re-tiller it and remove some weight and get it to around 35 pounds. So I marked the center of the bow and I have tape. This is like painter's tape. And I have the fade outs marked. I have a center mark, and then I put a mark in the center between the fade out and the center mark. I want to keep it in proportion, And to tell you the truth, on the one limb, I did use the belt sander just for a second, just to take it down. And then after that, I strung it up and exercised it. I said, oh, it's pretty close. Really didn't need much of an adjustment. I more or less want to get the weight down, So I took 60 grit sandpaper and I sanded over here too, and I exercised it, with the string on, with the sandpaper, the 60 grit. And I got it good. I'm going to stand back and let you see what it looks like. It's beautiful. It's got a 1/4-inch tiller positive up on top. I've been working it. And we're going to see what kind of pounds I got here on this. And the goal is around 35 pounds. Just so I could shoot it for like 3D and stuff. It's so beautiful. I could always add, this is brown leather dye. I'm going to add brown leather dye on again and a little warm satin polyurethane, and it'll look just as good as it did. So let's see what we got for weight. $35 pounds. 35 pounds. Pull it back one more time. 36 pounds. So it's 35, 36 pounds. These scales there aren't the most accurate, okay? So it's perfect, it's 35, 36 pounds. And the tiller is absolutely beautiful, 1/4-inch positive on top. So I just wanted to show you that now that I wanted to adjust this, I added, besides the fade out marks and the center mark, I added a mark between the fade out and the center, just to keep the measurements in proportion, to have a nice arc. I would hold it up, I would look at it, sand a little, measure it to the string. I sanded it with 60 grit sandpaper with the string on, okay? And why not? We'll take it out in the back and we'll do a little shooting with it just to see how it shoots at 35 pounds, all right? Since the last time I've been out here, we had an additional 3 inches of snow, but the good news, it's all melting today. So we're out here. I got a couple of different arrows, and because I'm old and tired, I make a cheat sheet to tell you what we got here. These are both 29 inches. We have gold tip velocities that are 600 spine with 125 grain tip, and they are 328 grains, which comes out for a 35-pound bow, 9.37 grains per pound. And then we have these entradas, which I love, and of course every time I love an arrow, they stop making them. Okay, these are 700 spine entradas, and at 273 grains, and they come out to 7.8 grains. Okay, so now that I showed you my little cheat sheet, I'll show you the arrows quick. The entradas. Okay. The gold tip velocities. Okay, so now the velocities have 125 grain tip, and the more weight you put on an arrow on the tip, it weakens the spine a little bit. So these seem to fly pretty good with around the 35-pound bow. Now these are my ultralights, all right, and these only have 75 grain tips for 700 spine, but the lighter tip makes it a little stiffer. And it's not like hunting where when you're hunting, you want the heaviest arrow. There's actually kind of a sweet spot. You can have too heavy and have a real slug. There's always a balance, and no matter what you do with archery, okay, whether it's making recurves or whatever, there's a balance between stress and what you want to achieve for accuracy and speed. Okay, so for 3D, this is going to be a lightweight 3D bow. I want speed. I don't care about the weight. If I was hunting, right, and I had a hunting weight bow, I don't want a 600 and something grain arrow at my 26 and a half inch draw because it's too short. I don't store enough energy. Okay, but I want something like 500. I want something below 600. Okay, not too much below, but a little below 600. So I just show you the difference. We're going to take bear shafts, 2 bear shafts, and I'm going to aim. Actually, I'm going to aim behind the insert. Okay, you see the insert? I'm going to aim to the right of the insert. I'm going to try and be that shooting machine and be accurate, and I'm going to see which way the tail goes. Then we're going to take this gold tip entrada, which once again they don't make anymore, but they come up. These things they disappear, and then somebody else makes them and they slap another label on them. So if you look at the grains per inch on this, like this is 5.4 grains, and you find another arrow that's 5.4 grains at 700 spine, it's a good chance it's the same company, same arrow being made. Okay, now let's go look at the tails of these, and then I'm going to shoot it one more time. You know, and again with the camera, it's really hard to tell. Okay, but let me lower it a little bit more. But if you look here, from my point of view, this gold tip seems to be flying better. It's straighter. This one is a little tail left, which means it's slightly weak. Okay, so I think we're going to stick with the 600s. We're going to take a couple of shots. I'm not sure where these are going to hit yet, but you're going to shoot with me today. And we'll see. But that's kind of what I figured, you know. I figured the 600s. Let me show you something else, too, when you pull out arrows. When you pull out arrows, put your hand on the target and grab it close and pull them out. Because contrary to people's belief, okay, carbon arrows can warp and bend. So if you grab them close, and if you ever have an arrow go into wood, grab it real close and make little circles. And what you're doing is making where the point went in oblong. And gently do it for a while, and it'll be able to pull out because you'll make that hole bigger, okay? And it'll be able to pull out sometimes. And always remember, if not, it's always better to unscrew the arrow and lose a tip than lose maybe a $20 arrow or however much the arrow cost you. Okay, we're going to go back and take some shots at 10, 15, and we'll see how it turns out with the 600s. Okay, we've got that bear at 10, and we got that deer at 15. And even though I don't know how it looks on the camera, but that snow really affects your eyes. It's kind of bright. So let's focus on that bear. I'm going to try and be that shooting machine, keep my hand against my face, my bow hand up on target, and hold it there until the arrow hits. That bear, the front leg, the corner pocket, I'm going to put the tip of the arrow. And I'm not sure how it impacts. They usually, these 600s with a 35-pound bow, usually hits fairly good. So we'll see. Okay. Tried to stay there. It seemed to go a little bit more to the left than I wanted it to. But that's okay. We're going to take another one. It's okay. Let's try that deer at 15. And we're going to see how it flies. Right there. Right there. So that's okay. I have to get used to this. And I just happened to come out and try these two different arrows. And as you see, the 600s are the ones that are a little straighter. I'm going to set up at 10, 15, and 20, and we're going to do a little walkback shooting. So removing the 5 pounds and retillering this bow, it's like shooting a new bow for the first time. It really is. So we got these 600 spine velocities, and this is a good way to practice for 3D. And if you have 2 people with you, you take turns and you start walking, and somebody will say stop, and then you'll turn around, and once you're facing the target, then knock an arrow. And if you have multiple targets, they could even pick a target. What target do you want to hit? And then shoot. Then you start walking back a little further, and the next person's turn is to say stop. And you'll turn, and like I said, you either shoot the same target, or if there's multiple targets, pick a target and shoot. And it's a good way to get your brain to pick up where you have to put the bow for the trajectory. Whether you gap shoot, you get to figure out where to put the tip. What people call instinctive. Your brain picks up so many things. Your brain will get used to seeing everything, the big picture. It sees your hand, sees your arrow, sees the target, sees the closeness, the further, and you'll get accustomed to naturally putting your hand where it's got to go. Okay, so here we are. These are known distances now. This is about 10. Okay. We're going to shoot all at that deer with the bag. Okay, we're going to go walk back a little bit more. This is 15. Okay. And walk back a little bit more. Okay, we're at 20. And I'm going to try, usually 20 is kind of point on with this combination, just from my experience. But we'll see. Okay, that one went a little to the left. And like I said, this combination is new to me. And don't make changes. Don't make changes to point weight or tip weight or anything. This is a new combination. You got to practice, practice, practice. Okay, and when it comes to tuning arrows, I'd rather you get your form down and start hitting. I don't care if you hit this much, this big of an area, but if you're consistent, okay? And the more you practice, you watch the group shrink, okay? I have a I don't know, it's probably about $35. I have a couple of camera stands for my iPhone, and I make all my videos on the iPhone. But if you spend $25 and buy a camera stand and put your iPhone on, and you can watch yourself shoot, okay, you'll be able to see if the arrow goes to the left and your hand came off your face, that's a pluck, and that'll make the arrow go to the left. It's opposite for a lefty, okay? The guys coming from compound or coming from Olympic that are used to using a loose grip with a finger sling, or wrist sling if you have a compound, they hold it loose, and when they let go, what do? They don't want to drop the bow, right? So they grab it. All right, so when you grab it, the arrows will go to the right. So a pluck, they go to the left. If they go to the right, it's a grip. So as you practice your form, your groups will get tighter. All right, so I'm telling everybody, look at the chart and go by the chart, and you get a rough idea what kind of spine for weight and your draw length. And the other thing that I'm going to mention, I mentioned before in the past, was arrow length. Okay, I'm going to give you a quick example. My son, who's taken numerous deer, and he's 27 now. When he was 12 and I took him in the first time hunting, he had a compound. And I tuned the arrows for that compound. And he was using long 1916 aluminum arrows because we wanted the weight. We wanted the weight for hunting. He had a 23-inch draw, and legally you have to pull back a 35-pound bow. So he had a 35-pound bow with a 23-inch draw, and he had arrows that were very long. And we were down the indoor range shooting, and some guy comes over and goes, "Those arrows are too long for him. You got to cut them down." He probably came from an Olympic background, where they have the clickers and all, and you have short arrows. I said, no, you don't understand. I says, I'm taking him hunting. He has a 23-inch draw, 35-pound bow. I says, and we want to make sure that he gets enough penetration. We have enough energy behind the arrow, enough weight to get into the deer and kill a deer. So the owner of the store was looking in the corner, and he shook his head, like agreeing with me. So the guy walked away. I don't know if he believed me or not, but who cares? It is what it is. You could lead a horse to water, but they don't have to, drink it. Okay. So when I have these arrows, like those arrows are 29 inches, and I have a 26.5-inch draw, it's okay that they're out in front. You see how I quickly bare shafted them, and the right way to do is to bare shaft and fletch shaft. It's a little more accurate. Okay, you shoot a bare shaft and a fletch shaft. But this is just quick. I'm out here. If the tail goes to the right, it's stiff. If it goes to the left, it's weak. Okay, so the 600s were fairly straight, and it was good. So that's all. I just wanted to mention to you. You get excited and you're hunting, and you have 28-inch draw. You got a 29-inch arrow. Biggest deer of your life come, and you overdraw, and you pull the broadhead back and cut your hand. So always leave at least 2 inches longer. And I got to be honest, I don't care what anybody says, and you shouldn't either. I have 29-inch arrows and a 26.5-inch draw. And it serves the purpose for hunting. It adds more weight. And when I'm gap shooting, I look at the gap. It just seems to work out the little longer arrow. And I believe if you have really short arrows, it's harder for them to bend and recover for tuning. A little bit longer, these aren't really out of control long. 29-inch arrow. They bend, they reflex, they're a little easier for me to tune, I believe. That's it. Just sharing my thoughts. So let's go take a look at not my greatest group, but like I said, it's okay. I'm showing you exactly. It's like a new bow. It's a new bow. See, I tilted it. It's a new bow. I got to get used to shooting. And then once I get the groups a little tighter, my form down, if it's a little stiff, I could add a 5-grain washer. Okay. If it's a little weak, I can maybe go. If it's a little weak, I can go from 125 to 100 grain tip. Maybe add a washer. You go in between. You feel it out. But right now, even me, who I shoot pretty good, I'm going to leave it like that. I got to practice. Let's go take a look. Okay. 10, 15, and 20. Okay. And like I said, I'm tired. I'm still tired today. I mean, it's been a rough week of shoveling snow and getting everything in order. So I'm not on my best. I'm not 100% awake and ready to shoot. I'm just out here having fun flinging arrows, and that's okay. You do that sometimes, even if you're tired. It's good exercise. So that's it. I wanted to show you how I put those different points. They're not here now. I have the fade out marks. I have the center mark on the end, usually at the end of the tip here. Okay, for a tillering mark. But once I have my tiller, the yardstick method. Once I have the bend I want, if I want to reduce the weight of the bow, I'll string it, and I'll add that extra point in between the center and the fade out, and I'll measure, and I'll use 60 grit sandpaper, and then I'll round the edges, exercise it, check it out again, pull it back with a scale, and believe it or not, that 60 grit does the job. It's pretty fast. I wasn't out too long, and I took off that 5 pounds like it was nothing. Okay, and it's more comfortable. I got to tell you honestly, shooting at 35 pounds didn't bother my shoulder at all. I didn't feel it. Okay, so that's it. Short video today. Take your time when you tiller. Use the yardstick method that Keith Shannon came up with. You see some of the videos, Keith Shannon, Dad Beckham, okay? And when you want to remove material, use some painter's tape to remark those tillering marks and measure from the string. And the idea is you want the top limb bending a quarter, a little more. This actually is exactly 3/8 more bending on the top, which is good. I forget who it was. Somebody said eventually the bottom limb catches up. And I found that to be true myself. I don't know. It might have been Ryan Gill who said that he makes it a quarter to half because the bottom limb catches up. Well, I've been doing this for now a little over, you know, 2 years. I'm at that 2 year mark, and some of the older bows I retilled, that I shot a lot. All right. And the interesting thing is too, some of the bows that I made originally, I looked at them. I said, "Wow." I says, they don't look that nice. They're not that great. I didn't use the yardstick filler in them. I was early on, and some of them I actually cut up and got rid of. And and now I make better bows, beautiful bows. And and I'm happy with that. All right. Thanks for watching. Every day you get up is a great day. Okay. Don't be overbowed. You won't shoot good. Okay. Have a good day.